Doc Dixon.
Hey.
This is a very fancy. You have at least 2 cameras, maybe 3.
There's like about 5,000 people in the stadium.
But
here
look how good
watching
looking
us.
they are.
True that. Yes. Yes. Lovely audience.
They're not very bright, but they're really good looking. Can they hear me?
Wow.
They can hear me. Oh man, I've done it again, Doc. I put my foot in my mouth.
I always first notice people's intellects. That's the kind of person I am.
You lie. You're a liar.
No.
So I saw your show last night. You're a terrific comedian, terrific performer.
Oh, thank you.
And this magic, which is what you're known for, is delightful.
Oh, thanks.
And what?
By the way, did you notice the pause that was in there? I saw your show last night, and see, to the listener, that seemed like that pause was half a second. To me, it was like, did he like it? What's he gonna say next? You know, like, I liked it. Okay, good. This interview's gonna go fine. Good. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you have a need for approval, or is that from a childhood? I mean, you're so good at what you do. I don't think you really care if I like that one show. But is part of it that you like? Because I love the applause. Like if I'm in the room and I'm owning it, it's as good a feeling as I can have.
It's a good feeling, but I always kind of harken back to this quote. I don't know who it came from. Applause is like applesauce. It sounds the same. It's sweet, but it's not that filling. You know, you don't get addicted to it. You know, I mean, that's my job. My job is to create a show that makes people want to clap and laugh a lot. So there's like that kind of pride and craftsmanship. But do I have this kind of needy ego thing? Not really. I have that needy wife and kids to feed thing.
Do you know applesauce has a different meaning in certain communities?
No, I didn't know that. I'm really terrified what's going to come up next.
It's going to be bad.
Is this like the pineapple thing in the retirement? Never mind.
No, there's no.
He got that joke. Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's a lot of fruit in his.
What's the applesauce thing?
I dated this black girl, and she said, "Oh man, my mom used to make applesauce." And what are you talking about? She goes, "Oh, in our community, you would take a bunch of apples and put it in a hose, and they would just beat the kid with it." And that was called making applesauce, and that was discipline in her household. And I was like, oh, I did not know that. So it has a whole new meaning to applesauce. Look, your mouth is open.
There was not even a segue for that.
Well, you said the word applesauce.
You know, applesauce beating children.
It was her.
I never heard of that.
It's a true story that I heard. That doesn't mean it's true.
I hope it's not, though. I had seen something similar to that old John Cusack movie, Grifters, with Annette Bening, where the mob guy does the oranges and socks thing.
Beats him with a sock?
Beats somebody with a sock stuffed with oranges.
It's just a spin-off of the applesauce story.
It's gimmick infringement, if you ask me. I never heard applesauce. You've ruined a few holidays for me.
Really?
It's like, no thanks.
Way to get the pie punishment. It's a whole nother level of child abuse.
I'll just stuffing. Don't ruin stuffing.
Now we're going down this road.
Okay.
What I liked about your performance was that you kept leading the audience astray and bringing them back. And like they kind of thought they had one-upped you, and then you brought them back. Like it was like a cat and a mouse, and you're moving the audience's attention around. Have you ever thought about that way? It was very clever and very fun to watch the audience misread and then misguess, and then you kind of brought it back around because you were in total control the whole time. But nobody knew what you were going to do next. And it almost looked like you forgot things or it was delightful.
Well, thank you. I've never thought of it in those terms, but to me, I think a lot of what I do in terms of not just being funny, but being fun. I want to have fun with people because I think that's, I don't want to say it's like a level above funny, but it's a different thing that the interactive nature of magic can do that a strict monologist can't or doesn't do because it's not a fun interactive thing.
Did you say
I like doing that.
Monologist?
Monologist, a stand-up comic.
I've never heard the word mono.
Yes.
Monologist.
I think that's a word. Now you have me doubting it. I think that's
I'm pretty educated, but monologist meaning mono speaker.
Yes.
I like that word.
Would
a speaker be a monologist, like a TED Talk? Still monologist, right?
Yeah,
so, yeah. But a comedian would be only words, but you have another tool.
Yeah.
You have a secret tool that do you use magic because I don't think people understand. All great magicians are also great comedians, in my opinion. Am I incorrect on that, or do you?
Yes.
I am incorrect. Tell me why that's not correct. 'Cause I've always found them delightful, and they throw comedy in there, and they use misdirection, and they use punches, physically.
A lot of magicians or some magicians are great comedians because that's what they go for.
Okay.
But I was just thinking, an easy example, David Copperfield's show. I mean, he's the GOAT as far as magicians
Right.
go. Incredible. There's parts of his show that are funny, but I would not call him a great comedian. The parts of the show that are intended to be funny are indeed funny.
Yeah.
But the parts of the show where the wind's blowing through his hair, and
Good point.
yeah. That's. I mean, I can't do that stuff.
It's
so
dramatic.
Yeah, it's dramatic. I don't do drama, but he's awesome. He's awesome.
Maybe my interpretation is that they're great storytellers. I just love comic structure, where
As
you
do I,
when
yeah.
you misdirect people and then you delight them and surprise them, and that is what magic is, misdirection. Am I incorrect on that one? Because I'm not a magician.
It's classic joke structure. I mean, you think the joke's going to go one way, and what makes it funny is it goes another. And there's several times in the act where you think the trick's going to go one way and wah wah, and that wah wah is the punch.
Right.
And then the fulfillment of it is amazement. And there's some routines, particularly like last night. It was a tighter time crunch. I'm thinking. Part of my head's like, no, don't do the trick. Just do the setup and the punch, then move on to the next thing. Just get the laugh. Everyone's happy, and the time is filled.
You just skip the dinner.
Yes, that's it. Boom. Go ahead. Be funny.
But one of the things that you were so good at, and I think only because I've been in the comedy space for a while, is even your tags and your in-between words just came out unconsciously. Like, I don't even think you think about it. I mean, they just boom, boom, boom. Because you've been doing this 30 years or so?
Yeah, I've been doing it a long time.
Like, that's not rehearsed. Like, whatever that line in between the line that everybody laughs, it's there for you.
Yeah, I pretty much know 99% of what I'm going to say up there. But yeah, it's a function I haven't been doing in a long time, and haven't been doing the routines a long time. Some of it comes from, and we're really getting in the comedy weeds here, magic comedy weeds, but part of it comes from, for me, the perfect structure for a trick that really is attractive to me is comedy, mind seizure. Everything leading up to the end is funny and not necessarily magical, and then the end, that's magical. That's like, whoa, how did that happen? And I dig that because that comedy part allows me to interact with the audience. Whereas, like when I was on Penn and Teller Fool Us, and I did the shell game with them that fooled them, the nature of that routine is there's magic that happens along the way because that's the nature of that show. You got to bring the magic. But most of the routines I do, there's not as much magic along the way till the end. There's funny.
And maybe even misdirection and trick, and then you didn't really start the trick yet. But
Sure.
they think you're
yeah.
starting the trick.
Yeah.
And then you make a joke because it's funny, and then magic seizure.
Yeah,
Brain
the
seizure.
amazement part, brain seizure. That's what
Brain
I call the
se-
amazement part.
that's-
How'd that happen? Yeah. I want it to be fun. I want it to be fun. To me, and again, other people don't live by these rules, but these are mine. Magic without comedy is inhumane. I mean, it's like, oh, it was amazing, great. It's like it's not what I plug into.
When we mention the other comedian, you're right. There's drama on television and there's comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he's doing magic, but he's choosing the dramatic structure, it's going to be dramatic, but it's still going to be delightful, but not ha ha ha. It's going to be, oh, he didn't die.
And do any of us believe he's actually going to die? Any of those tricks where, if this blade comes down, I mean, oh, good Lord. Why don't you just call the audience names? It would be a more direct way to insult their intelligence. There was one guy, I think he did it right, a British magician, Paul Daniels. Some used to call him the Johnny Carson of Britain. He was big over there, passed away a few years ago. He ended his Halloween magic special, had to be like 30 plus years ago. He had one of those, what do you call those coffins with the spikes in them? They're like a classic 1950s horror movie prop, where you in there and it puts the holes through your body. Yeah. Well, he was doing this trick where he was going to escape from one of those, and here's how the special ends. Slam. Screen goes to black.
Good night, everybody.
And then a pre-recorded message of Paul Daniels and his wife, the lovely Debbie McGee. He says, well, this was pre-recorded. Hope that last trick worked out. Good night. It's like, it's like a joke. You got to commit to it, He committed to it. And, whether this was hype or true, I don't know. But apparently these switchboards, back then when these switchboards,
lit
were the switchboards lit up,
But it's a great conclusion.
I love it.
But you don't know if it's true or not. You don't know if he died or not.
No, I know he. Well, no, he did several shows after.
Okay,
that,
so obviously,
but
it was,
in the moment,
nobody
when
knew.
people were more accepting of what they saw on TV, before wrestling was openly fake, kayfabe was not broken. This had an element of believability, and people bought it.
Do you think magic's a rise? Because one of the unfortunate insults is sort of magician and mime is not near as respected as, let's say, stand-up comedy and these $15 million specials. Yet Penn and Teller are
the longest headliners on the strip.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, why is there a reputation that you've seen, or is that only because mimes are just inherently not funny and you get clumped in with them?
I've never thought I've been clumped in with You've really taken me on a roller coaster ride
That's
here.
what I do.
We love the show. You're clumped in. I don't really care what you clumped me in with. Just being clumped in.
I got clumped in with
something.
astrologist and palm reader earlier today. So maybe
Okay,
I'm just
that's
mad
fair.
at him.
That's
and I'm
fair.
taking it on you, and I'm sorry.
That's fair. Yeah, that people say cockroaches will be the one animal that survives a nuclear holocaust.
I have heard that, yeah.
Okay. I believe magic has a bit of a quality like that. In that, as one prominent author within magic said, there are many rooms in the mansion of magic. Well, there are many venues for magicians. Like me, I do corporate events, theaters, I'm on cruise ships. That's the bulk of what I work. I'm here at Freedom Fest performing here. But there's also the guys who are magicians who are doing the kids' birthday parties or doing this, that, and all these different little things. So when something is so diverse, so many different ways to do it, it's easy for that clumping thing to get. You have mimes that are Marcel Marceau, and then you have, the annoying guy
on the
begging
street
for money
yeah.
who's caught in this box. Yeah. So I forget the question. Clumping accusation. You could have stopped the clumping with you. It just occurred to me. You said you were clumped earlier.
Yeah.
And you could have said the clumping. That's a T-shirt for you. The clumping stops with me. That's it.
I didn't mean to clump.
That's all right.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do is I do handwriting analysis. Do you have any idea that this is kind of what I'm famous for? The handwriting
Yes,
analysis?
I did know that. Yes.
And I'm really excited because when I met you and I liked you and I'm delighted by you and I was like, oh, I get to see inside his personality, and I don't know what makes comics tick, and magicians. Like we're always a weird breed, and some of us come from damage, some of us go to families, and so I like what I'm seeing so far. Can I analyze your handwriting a little bit? Because there's a couple of things that really jumped out.
Yes. Another moment of being all about me. Yes, tell me more about me. I love this.
So there's a trait I don't see often. It's always in the books, but I hardly ever see it. And it's this P that looks like a tent pole.
Yeah.
And it's textbook.
I'd like to ask the ladies to leave. This could be a little risque right now. Go ahead.
It's a very large tent pole.
Stop it.
It's bigger than I expected.
Why did I start that?
You did it.
I blame myself. I'm sorry.
No, that is a textbook. Argumentiveness is what it's called. Textbook.
Okay.
You have not been that way to me. You've been very pleasant. Do you find that you find the opposite and that you're a mismatcher and that it's part of your structure to go, oh, I want to see the opposite of that? And does your relationships in the past would agree that or not agree that you tend to argue?
Not much, because I've always been right, and most people. What? Yeah, what's your next thing? Go ahead. 25 more letters. I want my money's worth. Come on.
I'm not just pandering to the audience here. Sure. The Y's indicate sex drive, which is also exercise, which is also imagination. However, if it was only about sex, it would be a lot. Mm-hmm. You and Larry King have a lot in common. So I lean over. I'm on CNN.
I was just saying that the other day to my 8th wife. How much, Larry? Wait. Go ahead. What do I have in common with Larry King? The other day I was saying to Mitzi Shore.
You're making fun of a dead man. You know that?
Yeah, well,
you feel good about yourself?
Yes, I do. Yes, yes, I do.
So this, I don't think anyone knows the story. So
Too soon? No. What?
No. So I'm on Larry King Live on Sunset Boulevard, going live to the world.
Wait. Isn't that a title that had a shelf life? Live.
Larry King Live.
You can't run a rerun on that.
He's dead now, right?
He's dead.
We're really macabre.
He's still dead?
But his kids and his 8th wives are all spending his money.
Okay.
So I lean over and we're talking about like a serial rapist, like the John Benet Ramsey story, like a really big dark topic. And I'm sitting down just like this, but the cameras, and there must be like 25 people in the studio.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, I hear you do handwriting analysis. You can do it. Hey, I hear you do handwriting analysis.
Hey, you do handwriting analysis.
What do you think about me?" And I'm here to talk about a murder, right, of a little girl. And I was like, "Larry, you want me to analyze your handwriting?" Yeah. And I said a couple of things. No. You probably tell it to everybody successful. Tell me something I don't know. And I said, "Well, can I be candid?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Your sex drive is so big, you'd rather have sex with 2 women at once." And what you heard in the microphone is every one of the producers, including the one that booked me, was like, I'm fired. And he goes, "You have no idea."
I believe that's like any like 90-year-old man that's a bit of a slam dunk compliment. Still bringing it, sir.
Yeah, but I didn't really know the backstory of his kids and stuff. But it was not only true, but the handwriting was also true. The thing is, if I make it up, because I could read, and if I make it up, it's never as good. So if I'm as authentic and it actually shows up, so you have the big sex drive.
You're the Milton Berle of journalism. Sorry, it's old show business.
I get it.
Okay,
but
good.
I'm old enough
just making sure. You know the Milton Berle.
Milton Berle, I got to Google it, yeah. So no, the big sex drive is great. It does mean that you can get talked into things. It does mean that, one single person and or situation can become bored after a while. So you got to spice it up. And that doesn't mean just sex, but also life and travel. So this is also a travel treat. So do you have that with Larry King? You and your sex drive are heavy and long?
I just want to say I love my wife of 23 years.
Excellent.
I'll just leave it.
I mean, if you're listening...
pause while I wave to my lawyer. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying, she wouldn't mind, he wouldn't mind if you brought home a little plaything once in a while. I wouldn't bother him at all. We can move on.
Yeah. Yes. 24 other letters. By the way, I appreciate, and because you had me like write out a sentence.
It's just a silly sentence.
But I appreciate and I'm sure you did this with certain intentionality. We're writing in cursive and in print. There's no cues.
It's
because if you're not writing in cursive, which most people rarely do, you have to pause. Wait, what's a cue look like? And I bet most people would cheat and do like a print cue as opposed to the cue. The actual cursive cue that looks like a 2.
I have no idea what that is. You're right, I don't know that either. I don't. I write a capital Q. So the reason is, in all the textbooks I've read, there is no meaning with the word Q. It may be contextual, meaning skinny or whatever, but generally as a singular letter.
Okay.
And since this is a sort of I'm going to analyze it on the spot, I tend to take the stuff that is singular and most accurate.
Got it.
And that's what we play with, although there may be margins and a bunch of other stuff. Good self-esteem. High T-bars, which means like yourself, you're ambitious, you set goals. Again, stuff that you probably know about yourself, but it means successful. People that tend to plan ahead are successful. Now, here's something it's interesting that you mentioned you have a wife, so I'm going to be as delicate as I can around this.
All right.
There is a issue in your brain.
Yes.
I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly it.
Which is a... mentality relating to women that in the past you had gotten bored with too much consistency. And again, you're older now, maybe this was truer when you're younger, but your wife, because people can solve this, is that part of you liked the inconsistency of not having constant affection, and the outgrowth of that would be attracting women that were troublemakers and that were unpredictable. And even though you hated it at the time, you kept getting into those relationships. And sometimes kind of like the parents travel at home and mother's not consistent. But it's not a love-hate relationship with women. But it's like, why am I keep attracting these really strong women that bother me? So before you met your absolutely perfect wife of 23 years,
yes,
was this true back then with the series of women that you dated?
Building dramatic tension. I have two answers. One, the classic answer. I remember before I was married being on the road, the women constantly banging on my hotel room door. I finally had to let them out. Thank you. That joke is older than
but some
both of
people
us
have never heard
combined.
it. Some people have never heard it. Have you ever heard it?
That's
They've
like
never heard
Norm
it. They thought it
Macdonald
was,
would have told
but
that.
they thought it was hilarious. Thank you for sharing that.
Calm down with the hilarity.
The second part of the answer.
So, every relationship, I guess, ends for a reason. So, a multitude of reasons those relationships ended. I was just telling a friend about this. A former girlfriend, before my wonderful wife, she'd asked me over to her house to put together a cabinet. It was one of these IKEA things.
Sure.
And I'm a big guy, so it's a big guy kind of job, and she was a petite person. So I'm putting together the cabinet. And she asked me, well, is there any way I can help? And it was a one-person job. It was just a cabinet, and it really didn't need help. It was just a lot of hammer, whatever.
I would have said you could walk around in high heels. That would have helped me a lot.
You would have got in trouble, but I managed to get in trouble as though I said that.
Really?
Here's what I said. I said, I haven't had anything. It was early in the day. I didn't get breakfast today. Would you make me a sandwich? Now, I thought I said, and we'd been together like 2 years at this point.
Okay.
I thought I said, will you make me a sandwich? What I really said was, yo, slave girl, take 2 slices of bread, slap some meat in them now. Because that was the reaction I got. In my head, I honestly heard, yeah, may I please have a sandwich? That would be great. We had made food together before. But the reaction, and as a dude, you always assume that you're the moron, because that's what I assumed.
Sure,
I assumed that I was the moron.
Do?
So I asked some female friends of mine, I was like, I'm real, did I mess up here? Did I? And this? No, I made you a sandwich. But so yeah, maybe and my wife, who makes a fine BLT.
Does she serve it with spite and anger?
No.
I've got you a side of hate.
I serve food to her. She serves food to me. Very a two-way street of sandwiches.
Well, I'm glad you overcame that woman issue and found a good one.
Thank you. I have a whole theology of sandwiches right now.
So I'll do one more trait.
Sure.
Is that when you get criticized, especially in relationships, you don't lash out. You withdraw, and you think about it and you process it. And I think that's a healthy thing, because you're very sarcastic and you're very funny. So you could, if you let your impulsive side go, lash back and be cruel. But because it hurts your feelings, you withdraw a little bit. Would your wife agree to that? Because I know she accidentally offends you once in a while.
Well, if she does, though, I deserve it. I'm putting on a clinic for the newly married guys out there. Take notes. If she hurts me, I deserve it. Yeah. I mean, it's less being a guy and more being a. I know you can't tell on TV. I'm a large guy. I'm 6'4", and being aware of that, having that awareness. I got big at an early age. If I just a little bit of from me
People
is magnified, and so I don't want that to have magnified. And my wife she's a smart woman, and so even if it's something I might eventually disagree with, I always want to take it into consideration, because she's smart. Most of the time, she's 100% right. I mean, she married me.
She must be brilliant.
Or
blind.
Just poor judgment. Yes, blind.
Oh, sorry, I beat you to that.
Yes, blind. Yes. Blind, deaf, bad sense of smell would be probably the biggest sensory thing. I don't smell anything. Yeah.
You're really funny.
She's very sweet.
Can I promote something for you? You got a DVD or website or YouTube channel?
Visit docdixon.com, DOCDIXON. I do theaters, comedy clubs, a ton of corporate events. That should be the way to learn more about that.
One final question. You had mentioned that you'd been 30 years in comedy clubs. So you've done the comedy club circuit, right?
Well, not 30 years. I've
been
off
around,
and on. Yeah, I've been around the
thing.
scene. Yeah.
What's the major difference between this dingy comedy club that doesn't know who's coming out on stage and something like a corporate event? Do you love one versus the other, or one's something you never want to go back to?
Oh, so much apples and oranges. I mean, in one, like a corporate event, the stakes are really high. Well, one, you're usually making significantly more money.
Right.
And not only don't you want, in a comedy club, if you offend one person, and my act's clean, but if you can still offend people, if you offend one person, so what?
They just
The audience was rocked, everyone has a great time. A corporate gig, the act has to be bulletproof even to the one person level, because that one person could be the decision maker. The
daughter of the decision maker.
Or the
Why?
daughter of the decision maker. Also, corporate events tend to be a bit more inconsistent as far as, like comedy clubs are all the same. There's a stage, there's the mic, there's that, there's done. Corporate, like things will come up, been asked this hundreds of times, and the answer is always no. Okay, can you start during the dinner? Now, you isn't, been on stage, you know how ridiculous that is.
So difficult. It's a hard ask.
And then I want to explain to them in a way, acknowledging in my head that event planning isn't their thing, so it's unfair for me to think, well, you're not that bright, you don't get it. Yeah, because it's not your thing. That's why it's my thing. That's why you're hiring me. It's not just the show. You're hiring me to keep you from making these mistakes. Things like that, or
well, then also you have equipment, you have lighting, you have these things. But generally, a comedy club, you're going to get a mic that works. I just found that, and I was listening to Bill Maher talking about the fact he doesn't want to go to comedy clubs because it's an audience who doesn't know him. He's done this for 40 years. He'd rather just go to an audience that already likes him, because it's easier for him to do that. And I found that interesting because I don't have a huge following, so I'm still doing comedy because they don't know who I am, and I have to work the material. And it's really hard, but it's also fun when it works. And it's like, oh, this does not work. It's more challenging to me. Sure.
Well, Bill Maher is saying he doesn't want to go to comedy clubs. It's kind of like Tom Brady saying he doesn't want to play Pee-wee football. I mean, you're kind of, we get it. You're huge. You'll sell out theaters. So
why go play Pee-wee football, right?
Yeah. It doesn't make economic sense for him to. I want to do a room that seats 100 as opposed to this venue that seats a few thousand. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Bill Burr was saying, come on, challenge yourself. Come on, challenge yourself. He's like, why? I don't want to challenge myself.
Why? Yeah, he has the material and, team of writers and all that. I think getting that road time isn't high on his Maslow's hierarchy of needs for him.
Okay, Doc Dixon, DocDixon.com.
Yep.
Let's wrap it up, man. You've been fun. Thanks for coming around.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. Surprisingly so. I mean, I expected it to be fun. It's not fun. Thanks, buddy.